Hello and welcome back to the second segment of our interview with Eric DeGotti, one of the nation's top sports trainers. In the last segment, we went over the performance pyramid. In this segment, Eric will break down some of the exercises that you could do while you're on lockdown.
So the first thing we have an expression at FMS called move well and then move often. So before I care about how fast you run, how high you jump, how much you could lift, I got to make sure you move well. And so with that, we just work on your ability to move your body, to be able to have mobility in your ankles and your hips and in your spine, to be able to have stability at your knees and your trunk and your shoulders. And so we go through some simple processes of not only evaluating your movement, but then giving you specific movements to address whatever your weak links are. So that's the first thing, is getting you to move well. Then the next thing is, if you are stuck at home, you don't need much. I've told all the kids that I have, don't go out and buy a full weight room for your basement. One, because a lot of kids I'm working with, they're from urban areas. They can't afford it. And they don't have the space. If they're in a 2-bedroom apartment with 3 kids, where are they putting a weight bench? Even though I do have one kid who put a weight bench in his dining room, as I'm sure his mom knows that.
I was going to say, she's probably heated about that.
But with that, you also don't want to buy a bunch of stuff that's going to be in a garage sale in August when everybody's back to doing their thing. So this is my home gym in my basement right there. That's maybe $200 worth of stuff at most. Probably you could, if you shopped around right now, you can get that for about $100. And it's a heavy kettlebell, it's a lighter kettlebell, it's a couple dumbbells, some bands, some foam rollers. And if you're creative with it, I can get everything I need to get done there, and I can make you a really strong, functional, powerful athlete with everything you see there. And that takes up about 3 square feet in your basement. So you don't need to get a whole lot. And then the other thing you need to consider is that since we don't have access to heavy weights, what we're trying to tap into, and not to get into boring exercise science, is that you have your type 2 muscle fibers, is the strength and power muscles, right? Those are what we're trying to train in the weight room. Well, you get those one of 2 ways. You either lift heavy things or you move really fast. Well, we don't have access to heavy things, so move fast. So taking a simple, like you see here, a simple split squat and turning it into a jump, or taking a simple push-up and being explosive. And working your tempo, where I lower down slow, pause from a dead stop, and then explode out of there. That's a completely different exercise than just kind of going up and down and bouncing your chest off the floor, bouncing your knee off the ground. So using tempo to your advantage is one of the ways you can still access those fibers we want to get to, and still get strong and powerful without having any additional weight. In terms of conditioning, if you're a football player, I don't care about your conditioning right now. So don't go out for long runs. And I really wouldn't send you for long runs at any point. No football coach ever said, hey, if we could just get some of the kids from the cross country team, we'd be good. You know what I mean? Because most of the cross country kids are built for running long distances, and they look like this kid in the picture. Great for cross country, not great to be your middle linebacker. And then the other thing with conditioning is, most research shows that about after 6 to 8 weeks, your conditioning kind of peaks off. So I just basically count back on the calendar 6 to 8 weeks from when you need to be in shape, and start then, which means we don't really need to start any conditioning for a high school football player till maybe early to mid-June to have them ready for their scrimmages and camp. So don't even worry about going for long runs. If you want to do any type of conditioning, the best thing you do is go for some short sprints. If you got to have access to a hill, that's even better. Then the other thing you got to remember is your recovery. Your training is only as good as your recovery, and your recovery comes down to a couple factors: your nutrition, your hydration, your sleep, and then what active means you do for recovery, whether it's cold showers, ice baths, whether it's sauna, whether it's foam rolling, whether it's mobility work. So having that combination is going to allow you to come back and train that much harder the next day. For every extra hour you stay up late playing Fortnite, or for every Red Bull, or for every crappy food that you eat, that sets you back that much more. And that's hard to do. I got high school kids that can't wake up before 3 p.m. right now. That's going to set them back. And when they ask me, okay, well, what supplements can I take? I say the 2 best supplements you can take right now is drinking lots of water and get a good enough sleep. That'll put you ahead of your competition. So your training's only as good as your recovery. they're also having them to be able to have that connection with their teammates. I mean, when you talk to any athlete, the big thing they remember most about their experience is more than the touchdowns or the home runs is their connection with the other friends in the locker room. And since we don't have that, to be able to be on a Zoom and work out together, pushing themselves, we'll do challenges at the end of the workouts. That kind of stuff is going to give us the edge when the lights go back on and we can actually go back out there and get going.
Yeah, for sure. That connection is really that important. And it does motivate you. You see your guys working, you see everyone else still competing, even though they're not even together. Like that's a huge thing. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I did 3 Zoom calls yesterday. I got another one in a couple hours with teams, and it's about being I mean, in football more than any other sport. I love baseball, but I always say, my right fielder could be picking his nose the whole game. Right. It may not ever matter. Where in football, you can have 10 guys do it perfect, and one guy screws it up, and the whole play goes to hell. Yep. And that's just one play. So the ability to have that accountability that the guy next to you is counting on you, that starts in your training. And to these workouts have been huge in terms of keeping guys accountable, so they can see the guy in his living room working out. Yeah. So in terms of questions, I'm going to share my contact information. The easiest way is on my homepage. I actually, since I go and teach, all around the world, I developed a thing on my homepage called Ask Eric. So if you have a training question, that just go on there and ask a question. I'm more than happy to get back to you. It'll send an email directly to me, and so I can answer any of the training questions that you have. And then I also know that you have a fair amount of coaches that follow you guys. And so what I created in talking to some of the coaches that I'm working with, saying, look, everybody in the world's in the same boat, but they don't know what to do. They can't take their program of bench, squat, clean and tell their kids do it at home, right? Because they can't. So what do? So I put together a program called Winning Without Barbells. And basically it's how to do what I'm doing with my teams, with home strength programs and performance guides, talking about mobility and recovery, talking about how do you reintroduce the weight room when you go back now that you've been off for a month and a half. And then I do an introduction with a team Zoom session that's available on CoachTube if anybody wants it. Since we're both Jersey guys, we use a discount code Jersey, and they can get $30 off of that. And you can feel free to share that link. And then if anybody has any questions for me, my contact info is up there, whether it's on social or whether it's, like I said, through the site. I'm more than happy to answer any questions anybody has at this time to kind of get us all through this.
Well, that wraps it up for our 2-part interview with Eric DeGotti. Eric, it was a pleasure and a privilege to have you educate our athletes and high school coaches about home training during these difficult times. This is Cameron Cairo for Educating Athletes. Thank you for watching.